Hello everyone, welcome back to the Gamers Hangar channel. Today we are going to take a look at the new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I will be focusing mainly on the problems that I encountered in this game, especially the performance issues and some of the weird bugs and problems that I noticed while flying around some cities. For reference, I am using the X52, which is a combination of a throttle and a 3D twist stick, which allows also for rudder control and adjustments. As for the configuration of my PC, this is actually a relatively old machine. I am using for the CPU a Ryzen 9 5900X, which in my opinion is still doing a good job regarding most games. Also 32 gigs of DDR4 memory running at 32 megahertz, unlike what you see on the CPU-Z software. And for the GPU, a RX 7900 XT from AMD, the Sapphire version to be precise. This is a very capable GPU, but unluckily and too bad for us, I think Microsoft did a very poor job optimizing the game for AMD graphics cards. Because I've tried this GPU in other games, and I know for a fact that it does, and it performs really well in most AAA games and really heavy games. I've had like almost no problems whatsoever, but in this game, as you can see, from time to time I have some FPS drops and some lag, mainly in crowded areas and in areas where the game has to load a lot of 3D assets in the scene. So as I already mentioned earlier, I will be mainly focusing on the problems that I encountered in this game, and as you can see, most of the issues are just random 3D assets spawning in weird positions, like the boats you can see. We are flying a helicopter above the city of Paris, and we are precisely flying over the La Seine river. And this is something that I noticed all along the river, just boats spawning in the most random positions. Some of them are just sitting around, not even moving, floating above the ground. Some are moving in like completely random and weird movements, not following the river or any logical path. And some of them even beaching and going above ground. I don't know why this happens, because in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 I've flown multiple times on above Paris, because I live not far away from the city, and I've never seen anything like this, and even above other cities where you have rivers going across them. I believe that it's maybe some AI weird bug that just spawns boats wherever there is water, and in this case these boats are just too big and not compatible with the size of this river and all the bridges that you see around them. This one, for example, is just sitting here. It's not even moving, and what is weird is that you can even log out from the game, completely shut down the game, going again, and you'll find some of these boats in the same position. Some of them don't even spawn in some occasions, and some will spawn in like multiple places with different colors, different boats. And I believe that Microsoft should have maybe invested some more time in tweaking their AI to like make a difference between boats that are supposed to be cruising in the sea or the ocean, and the smaller ones that you usually see in cities like Paris. Another weird thing that I noticed is that these boats don't even have collision models. That means that what you see here is just a 3D model, which is okay. I mean, the model itself is well modeled with convincing textures and realistic enough. But when you try to land a helicopter, for example, above it, it doesn't even react. It's like you're flying through air. And this is another point where I think Microsoft should have done a better job, because you can see, well, for example, this one does not have a helipad, but on other boats you'll find helipads, and sadly you will not be able to land on those helipads. Unlike this place, for example, well, this was a bit of a rough landing, but I managed to land there. Another weird thing that I noticed is that some of the buildings that you find in this game are 3D scans of real actual buildings. And I understand that Microsoft cannot just, or whoever is designing this game, I believe that there is maybe a studio doing all this. The 3D scans are not that well done. The polygon count is really low in some places, and the scans are just completely like dumb in my opinion, because this one, for example, is supposed to be some kind of a factory with a chimney that is with smoke coming out, and as you will be able to see there, the smoke is just not even moving. It's like a 3D model again. You can also see another example of this boat's problem here. This one being a little bit different because the boat is actually moving, and I think what is happening is that the boat is unable to find a path to navigate through, because the bridge is blocking it, and because it's huge, it cannot go under the bridge or even or cruise in any logical way. And as you will be able to see, even when the boat manages to free itself from the bridge, it will still like act in a very weird way, just wiggling from left to right in completely random in a random way. I think this game was a little bit rushed. I do believe it is an improvement from what we had in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, but I think also that in some ways it is also a downgrade, because this is something that I don't recall seeing or experiencing in the older version of this game. As you can see, the boat is completely free out of the from the bridge. I will try to land the helicopter again here, but I believe because the boat is moving, something weird is happening, because every time I try to lower the powers and lose some altitude, the game will just push me away from the boat, which is maybe logical in some way, as I am closer to an object, and the thrust that the rotors are generating is more concentrated, so the helicopter will tend to gain some altitude. Anyway, I think this game needs some more work. I think between the performance problems, the insanely long loading times in some places and in some missions, and also these weird like completely random assets spawning in the most like bizarre places. This game needed to be left in the oven a little bit longer. We will move to another place, and you'll be able to see that this weird glitch happens a bit more in some places for some reason. You like, for example, in this part of the river, there are 0 boats, and then out of nowhere, you'll have like multiple boats just spawning out of nowhere. Some of them are like not even compatible with the part of the city. See, these boats are huge and they're not supposed to be cruising in a river. And in some other occasions, they are even like clusters of boats just on top of each other, not even moving or cruising or anything. And again, um, as you can see, this makes no sense whatsoever. I stopped here to watch how this boat is going to react to the fact that the river will split into 2 smaller rivers, if I may say so. And what the game does, or what the AI is going to do, is just continue moving in the same direction, not taking into account any changement of course. The boat will just run the ground, go above, and eventually what I noticed is that it will either despawn, like just remove the boat from the game, or it will just keep it in that position and stop it from moving. That's all. Um, Other than this, I think the game looks okay. I think the graphics are really good. The the vehicle assets. And when I say vehicles, I'm talking, of course, about the airplanes and the helicopters. I think the models are really good. They are like of a very high definition 3D assets. The game reacts pretty well with the controllers that I'm using, with some issues as well, because one problem that I find usually with this controller is that Logitech does not update its drivers. I think the latest driver for this one dates back to maybe 2018 or 2019, and it worked really well for the with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, but for this one I had to do some tweaking, and out of the box configuration simply doesn't work. Like braking doesn't work. I think flaps. Um, I had to use the keyboard for some time because the buttons I have on the throttle, underneath the throttle, were not functioning either. And yeah, I mean it's something that you'll have to deal with. Luckily, there is a solution. You just need to tweak some settings in the in-game menu, the Logitech software as well. I'm trying to fly above like crowded and high density parts of the build of Paris, just to see how the game reacts and how my GPU is handling this much data and information. Um, being close to the city, most of the buildings that you see are not like really accurate. They are not one-to-one representation of the actual buildings you'll be able to visit in Paris. For example, here we are flying above the museum, the Louvre, and while we can see like the glass pyramid and the three smaller ones around it, there are some weird things that you'll also see. For example, I know for a fact that on each side of these pyramids you'll have like galleries and stairs that you can take to go into those galleries, but we are unable to see this on these facades. Another thing is that if you get really close to the buildings, you'll see that it's just like simple 3D models with 2D textures and everything you see is just drawings. These are not actual um, actual windows and doors. It's just 2D maps applied to these relatively simple 3D models. So for a flight simulator, I think this is perfectly fine. I mean, we are not really supposed to get this close to the buildings and actually check everything at such a close distance. From a flying altitude, even for a helicopter, most buildings I think are convincing enough. And again, we'll find some of these boats just scattered around, making no sense whatsoever. And in this part of the river, I found like this huge cluster of boats just on top of each other, making again no sense whatsoever. And as you can see, there is even a boat on top of the bridge, and I think this problem kills the experience a little bit, because when you're flying a helicopter above Paris, what you expect is some immersion, and what I'm seeing here is just like completely weird. I think this game should have been kept a little bit in development to fix all these problems. You may have already heard that on launch day, the first version of the game that came out was so bugged, and maybe it's because so many people were trying to connect to the servers, that you couldn't even access the game. You were just told to wait, and that you had to wait in a queue to be able to log into the game. As you can see, we have like all sorts of weird stuff happening, like boats just rotating. Some of them are floating in mid-air, some are like parked on top of each other. I don't know what's going on, but for me this is just unacceptable. I mean, if this happened in the most remote and random places, I would understand, but a city like Paris, you're supposed to at least try the game and see how your AI will react to the presence of a river that changes its course and that goes underneath multiple bridges and even some entirely covered areas in some places. Um, I think if you were willing to invest in this game, and if you're not using Xbox, if you don't have a Xbox um, membership, I think you'll do better just playing the old game, because from a flying experience point of view, I don't think there's a huge difference. Mostly, I think the most different part of between the 2024 and 2020 versions sorry, is the fact that you simply get to play missions, which is interesting because you have different careers you can choose from. That's actually a very good thing they added to the game. And also different airplanes they also added to the game, and some a little bit more accurate representation of some parts in the world. But other than that, I think the flying part of this game is pretty much the same. There isn't a huge difference. I think this game is not worth the money you'll spend if you want to get it. At least at the meantime, I think you should maybe wait, give it some time. Maybe the upcoming patches will fix these problems. Hopefully Microsoft will also work on optimizing the game for AMD, and I don't know, maybe some people also use Intel Arc graphics cards. But for now, this game does not play well with AMD cards, because when I look at the performance charts, I can clearly see that the game is not fully using the resources of my GPU. Maybe I don't know. I think it can also be related to the fact that my system is not latest. The Ryzen 5900X, the Ryzen 9 5900X being a little bit old at this point, and I think maybe the DDR4 memory is also starting to show its age. So at some point I will have to upgrade my system to keep up with the more demanding games that we see every year. We're going to fly to another part of Paris. We are actually heading towards the La Défense district, which is like a part of the capital where you'll find multiple skyscrapers and really high buildings. And here again I noticed another bug, which comes when there are assets that are loading in really far parts of your screen. Some will just show completely random and inaccurate colors, and that fixes itself by the time you get close enough to the building. And some are completely not even like close to what you actually have in reality. I have been to this place so many times, and I know for a fact that at least the ground does not look at all like this. This is like completely different from how this place looks. Some of the buildings are modeled in a very good way, like this one, which is called La Grande Arche, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And some are completely like, maybe I think it's either AI generated again, or just low polygon 3D assets they just put there to fill in those places. I'm gonna try to land on the top of one of these buildings just to try if the collision models are also modeled. Again, the game does look great in some places. I think mostly if you are in more natural and rural areas, like places where you have mountains, deserts, and more natural scenes, the game does look a little like much better. But when you're flying above like completely urban and high density areas, I think it's a less pleasant experience, and I think the game needed to be polished a little bit more. So my opinion is that if you have an AMD GPU, if you are not in a rush to play this game, hold on to your money, wait a little bit, give it some more time. Microsoft will definitely try to fix some of these issues. I'm not sure about the optimization part, but at least the random spawning of assets, maybe the performance part a little bit, loading times, everything, like everything I talked about in this video. Again, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Share, subscribe, and like the video. This will help us grow the channel, and see you soon.